Within Focus on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. Thanks for staying on. Last week's looting and destruction to property, which some have called an attempted insurrection, has shown us that South Africa's national security needs an urgent overhaul if we are to prevent future threats. Jakkie Cilliers, head of the African Futures and Innovation at the Institute of Security Studies, joins me now to talk to that particular matter. Jakkie, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight here on In Focus. Is the country's internal security under threat?
Under threat, well, I think the past week has indicated that we have serious problems. And I think our belief is that given the problems that we have, inequality, unemployment, racism, xenophobia, crime, you name it, we will be faced with ongoing security challenges in the years ahead. And what we need to do is to reconstitute and pay some attention to the security cluster. It hasn't received much attention, particularly under President Ramaphosa. Jacob Zuma did give it lots of attention, but unfortunately he gave it the wrong type of attention. And therefore, for example, our intelligence agencies were found by Dr. Mufamari. He literally said we should disband the State Security Agency. So bad was his report.
Looking at the uninspiring performance of the security cluster, I mean, many have been throwing this question around. I don't know if we have given it enough attention. Looking at the conflict in the region, are we vulnerable?
Well, the region, security in the region is declining. You can only look at, well, ongoing events in Zimbabwe, but recently look at Eswatini and look at Cabo Delgado. So the region faces challenges. South Africa doesn't face a conventional kind of attack on it, but we need to, amongst others, prepare our National Defence Force to prioritize its participation in peacekeeping, as well as emergency support within South Africa, including border security and area protection. We are at the moment, we have a defense force that still tries to prepare for conventional defense. South Africa is a superpower in Southern Africa. We are not threatened by any of our neighbors from a conventional military perspective. What we should be doing is preparing our military to participate for the real tasks, for the real challenges. And these are to participate in stabilizing the region, emergency support and so on to the police. We should train and equip them for their real functions rather than the sort of things that we have been doing in the past. And let me just add the other problem. So I spoke about the military. Without intelligence, a country is blind. And South Africa is blind at the moment. We do not have a functioning intelligence structure. We even have a fight within cabinet about, did you give them a report? No, I didn't get a report. I would have signed it. I mean, this is ridiculous. So never mind who said what and did you get a report or not, or did you not get a report. The point is nobody would believe what comes out of the State Security Agency given the Mufamadi report. And clearly the central coordination that used to exist between the sort of intelligence clearinghouse, obviously if it exists, it's not functioning. So intelligence really is problematic. And if we don't know if we don't have intelligence, as I said, we are blind. But not only that, our basic analysis of crime data is lacking. Analysis that the Institute did indicated very clearly that in 75% of the locations where violence was going to occur, that these are places that have been experiencing recurring violence for a decade. That's basic crime trend analysis. Violence happens in the same areas because of bad community police relations, poverty, inequality, poor governance, crime, and so on. They repeat. And 75% of the violence that happened during the last week happened in the same places that they've always been happening. So never mind that our intelligence is not working and is completely dysfunctional, even basic crime data analysis is not working. So there are real problems, and I mentioned the other problem of a lack of coordination, and the fact that the South African National Defence Force is not orientated and not funded for the actual tasks.
Let's look at that. I mean, we've heard, and this is very important coming from the president himself, who admitted we were poorly prepared for an orchestrated campaign of violence, destruction, and sabotage of this nature. Essentially meaning that we had no cohesive plan or coherent plan in place to respond to the situation that we saw. Are we in crisis, and is this a politically inflicted crisis, a self-inflicted crisis, an economic inflicted crisis? What is the reason for this crisis?
Reason is factionalism within the ANC. That's where this all comes from. That has led to poor and bad governance, massive incompetence, cadre deployment, and so on. There is no doubt that South Africa is an unhappy place. We have major challenges. But if there is no consequence management within the top leadership of the governing party, then why should anybody pay any attention to what the security cluster does? Because within the ANC, people are not being held to account. And it is evident. It is blatantly evident. So the fish rots from the head. And this is really, I think, where, in a sense, where reform needs to start. At the top, within cabinet, the president needs to lead this, and so on. We need to have consequence management in South Africa, and we need to bring professionals in. There are many competent intelligence, police, military people in South Africa. We need to stop cadre deployment and bring the professionals that came in through the ranks and let them do their job and appoint them permanently in their positions. In the case of the intelligence, of course, we need really a major house cleaning. And in the piece that I wrote for ISS Today a day ago, I used the example that previously what happened with the old Bureau of State Security, which was involved in all kinds of nasty stuff. P.W. Botha, of all people, appointed Neil Barnard as to come and clean things up and to establish what was known as eventually the National Intelligence Agency, which built up quite a reputation. And we need the same kind of action. I know it's the analogy may rile some, but we need to bring somebody in with integrity that can rebuild our intelligence system. And that needs to be a professional, not some kind of a party hack.
Now, of course, the response has been to applaud the military for stepping in and restoring order. Are they any better than all the other sections of the security cluster at this point?
The military, the police and the military, after we woke up and we realized how bad the situation is, did their best. But the military is not trained, prepared, funded, or equipped for the functions that we are expecting of them. So they can stand and support the police. Part of the argument that I think we really need to accept is we need to train, equip, and use doctrine for the military that prepares them for real tasks. And emergency support across various areas within South Africa should be, in my view, should be part of the function of the SANDF. When all else fails, who do we call? We don't call Ghostbusters. We call the South African National Defence Force. And they must be able to help. On a number of occasions, we've done that, but we keep on pretending that we can prepare the military for some type of conventional defense against I don't know whom, instead of preparing and equipping them for their real tasks in South Africa, whether that is helping to sort the sewage out in the Vaal River, whether that is helping on the COVID. They have all those capabilities, but we need to focus on the real tasks, the real function, the real tasks that the military are expected to prepare. At the moment, deploying military that stand there with sharp ammunition, they are not trained for the function. They watch people loot because they can't do anything. We need to find a way of changing that whole approach and mindset.
Let's talk about the complex prosecution very briefly. I'm out of time, but I want to throw this in. I mean, we are seeing probably 3,000 arrests of people who stole groceries and appliances and the things like that. But there is a bigger conversation around getting the actual plotters and instigators and prosecuting those and putting them behind bars. Do you have capacity for that level of complex prosecution?
You know, forensics is in a mess. Our detective services are in a mess. I don't think we have clarity about who is really behind this. Even if we had, you need to have the detail, not information, evidence that will stand up in court. And given the state of our detective services and the hawks and so on and so forth, I'm not so sure that we will so easily be able to take people to court. A lot of people have been arrested. Great stuff. But now they have to go through the entire criminal justice system. And that system is really, really under a lot of strain, and many of its component parts are not working. There's a lot of hard work that needs to be done, competent management, fixing the system that needs to happen in South Africa. And it's basics. It's not some highfalutin stuff.
Jakkie Cilliers, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. That's the head of African Futures and Innovation at the Institute of Security Studies. When we continue next.